Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Paranormal Chop Shop. And it's a Wednesday night, and we're here, Enzo. We're going to have
Hello.
a good
This
show.
is a very strange time to be here. It's usually Friday. Let's get our drink on and all that. But Wednesday, we're professional now.
That's right. We're going to have a hump day show. And we're going to have a good show, too, because we got Lady Ann and Ronald Murphy is with us. He is author of a whole bunch of books, whole different kinds of books, too, not all paranormal. And we're going to bring them up right now. And we'll let them tell everyone about themselves. Here's Lady Ann and Ronald Murphy. What is up, guys?
Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah.
So excited
It's
to be
an honor to
back.
be
Oh
with
my
you.
gosh, it's been a while.
Yes, it has. I'm glad you're back, too. We've missed hanging out with you. So how's everything been going?
It's been going great. Ron,
Good.
if
We've
you want
had
to
a
go
little
first,
punch
you
on the
can go
punch
ahead.
over
And...
here.
It's all going good.
I
and,
was just making small talk. It's kind of winter here now. Yeah. I was just making small talk, lady. I was going to say we saw our first snow of the year a couple days ago.
Oh, right.
Is that?
That's awesome.
We just got a freeze advisory for California, or I did earlier. It's going to be in effect from like the 12th to the 18th, or something like that.
Yeah, it's
So
cold late this
It's
year.
been getting cold here, guys. And for California, it's cold.
I have, of course, I'm in the middle of the country around Wichita, and we just today, the National Weather Service put out a thing for a extreme cold wind hazard thing where it's like goes from Sunday to Tuesday. We're expecting wind chills in the minus 15 to minus 30 range.
Oh,
It's like
my
I'm
goodness.
staying inside. I'm locking myself in.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
definitely
Ronald,
staying
you said-
inside, so
Yeah, it's cold where you guys are at. Man,
yeah.
I'm glad I'm not there this time of year.
Yeah.
How about you, Ann? Is it getting cold up there?
We're supposed to get down to 25. I think it's on Monday, but it's only the one day. I mean, it's 52 degrees right now, and I mean,
That's
I
what
think
it is
I. The what?
I just looked. That's exactly what it is here.
Oh, is
In
it? Oh,
California.
that's awesome. I do miss the
so-
cold, and I miss the rain.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Bet going from Oregon to Texas, that's a big change in rain pattern.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I moved to the desert.
well,
What have you guys been working on?
yeah, let's jump into this. I guess we should probably start with a brief bio
Yeah.
from both of you. Whoever would like to go first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ann does it so poetically, so I think that she'll have to begin this.
Oh gosh. Oh man. Okay.
Start us out,
Well, I
Ann.
mean, I've been here before a long time ago, and I'm so excited that I'm back. We all met from another show that we were on together and hanging out in the chat. Which I mean, it's so crazy that time just seems to fly. And I was doing the Caravan at the time as well, which is my podcast, which Ron and I are actually going to be bringing back. So Ron's going to be in the Caravan with me. I'm super excited for that. I also have KPNL Radio, which is an online digital broadcasting station. So we play paranormal podcasts 7 days a week, as well as a bunch of music that also kind of has a paranormal theme to it. Some of them talk about different like demons and witches, and some songs even have like a tie into the paranormal. I also went on to author a book, so it's called Aperture in the Veil, Born in a Preternatural World. It's kind of a autobiography. It has everything that I've ever went through from birth until this point in regards to the strange and the spooky, and yeah, I mean, kind of a Ann of all trades here.
And then the first time, so she had a lot of shows on the Caravan, and one of them was a Cat Ward show, and that's Paranormal Heart is what it was called. And is that what it's called, Lydia? Is that right?
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah. So, and then we just became friends on Facebook, and I found out that I was going to do a Dogman Festival conference in Paris, Tennessee, and that's the first place I met her. and we kind of hit it off because our personalities are very similar, and our outlook in life is very similar as well too. So as we were sitting at this Dogman conference, watching people telling them their tales of encounters and narrow escapes from dogmen, and shooting at them and barely leaving with their lives from the woods, we thought there might be more to this than just these anecdotal reports from people, right? So we decided to try to figure out what was going on with this dogman, these dogman myth that is really one of those things that you can watch the myth building in the present. So you're not looking back hundreds of years. Whatever's going on right now is happening now. So we thought if they ever have another Dogman conference, we're going to, Big-Willy, we are going to have to do a presentation together and kind of talk about, the psychology of what goes on with the Dogman. So the first time I met her, we hit it off. Then we started to talk on Facebook and everything like that. And then by the time we did our second we were together the second time in our life, we did a conference, and everything was done through email and over the phone and everything. So I thought that was pretty impressive. It's also kind of cool. It was a 2-day Dogman conference with really huge names. I mean, I was very flattered to be there. But at the end of the day, we kind of came up with the conclusion that it's quite possible that, what's going out there isn't a flesh and blood thing. There might be more psychology to it than anything. And I think that's okay, because I think exploring the gray matter of the wilderness in your mind is just as fantastic as going out there into the real forest and looking for monsters, right? Because monsters live in both places, and the monsters in your mind can be as real and as genuine, if not more so, than the monsters that you're seeking out there in the woods.
I love the way you put that.
Yeah. And so we decided we're going to start looking at things from outside the box, and we're going to put them under a microscope and see if these reports throughout the world can stand up to the scrutiny of different types of sciences.
Yeah, it was really powerful being able to do a presentation with you, and it was definitely a presentation that was unlike anybody else's that was there, because we ended up we really wanted to walk into this subject by going to the very beginning, when early man developed that relationship with canines, and lead it up to this point, in present time. Because I think that, if you look at it from the study of ethnocenology, which is the study of early humans and dogs and their relationship that they've had, and then you see how we've kind of meshed with them. There's been that anthropomorphism that has taken place. There's the deification, like Anubis and all this kind of stuff. And then now, after all these years, there's these flesh and blood reports, that people are seeing these things right in front of them. They're shooting at them. They're, so much to where it's now created a conference, and people are telling their stories. They're writing books about it. And so I was really curious about, because I've always been really interested in like metaphysics and quantum mechanics, could we as a species, as humans, could we have collectively not created, but maybe pulled these things into being somehow? Because they also say that, energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can be changed.
Right.
So did we do that?
Yeah,
I heard
manifesting is the phrase they're using nowadays to.
I heard with Dogman
existence like that.
I heard with Dogman, guys, that sometimes when they transform into a dogman, that's where they get confused with werewolves, is because it's a person transforming into a dogman, but it takes like a 6-week period. And most people don't make it through the 6 weeks because it's so much pain. And the person actually takes on characteristics and looks of an animal, as almost a dog. And they don't want to be touched or be around or be bothered. And they want to be off in a dark place. And then this transformation happens to them. And if they live through it in that 6 weeks, that's what you get afterwards. You get this person that's disfigured and deformed and looks like a hairless dog, or has those traits. That's what I've heard. And then something to do with either something rabid or something rabies virus. I can't remember the first part of
Oh,
that.
how interesting.
Yeah.
I've spoken to people who believe that they were werewolves, and they did tell me that the transformation takes a while, right? But I think that the thing that Lady Ann and I are looking at more than anything is the psychology behind it, right? Because nobody is really taking definitive evidence of any of these creatures, but people see them all the time, right? Also, if there is indeed a flesh and blood dogman out there, you would probably find it fairly quickly, or it would find you. I mean, even if it's elusive and everything, this would be an apex predator, and it would be difficult to find a creature that size, hiding away sometime for a long period of time, because it has to eat, right? So, myself, it would be interesting if these things did actually exist, but the truth is, they do exist in our world through our impressions of them, right? A psychological point of view, some people do believe they transform. Some people do believe that there's dogmen out there, right? So let's examine these things and figure out why in 2024 we still have people believing these things, right? It would be great if there's something out there like this. It would be fantastic. But right now, until there's, definitive proof about these things going on, we're trying to figure out why we as human beings are still projecting them out there into the world, because what do we need them for anymore? That's the whole thing. So the need for them is, I think, multifaceted, and it'll be like whatever Ann was talking about in the very beginning. We see mankind relying on dogs, right? They would be relied on for hunting and everything. And there are some anthropologists that believe that humans evolved in such a way because we followed the behaviors of the wolves and how they hunted and everything, even the idea of communication, taking care of the elderly, all that kind of stuff, this pack mentality. And then that may be true. So as we go through history, what do we see? We see wolves hunted almost to extinction. We see the domestication of the wolf. They become now something that we can take the traits out of them that we want, add the ones that we want. So we've domesticated them and we've controlled them. So guess what? Now the wolf isn't scary to us anymore. But the wolf meant something to us so powerfully that we made them into gods, right? We have Anubis, we have the idea of Romulus and Remus, taking the milk from a she-wolf in order to form the greatest civilization we've known on Earth, which is Rome. So we have the idea of all this stuff going on. Now we're coming full circle, okay? So the environment is very, very perilous right now. We have, heat rising, and we have water levels are rising, and everything that could go wrong is pretty much going wrong. And now in that kind of mentality, now we project the dogman back into it right now, because nature is now frightening again. We can't control it completely. So if you want to personify something in nature that's going to scare the hell out of us, it would be a creature that resembles us but is ferocious and hunts us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my theories about that as well too. The reason these things keep coming back again is because we are in trouble in some way, so we're projecting what we once feared back out into the woods again. We just come full circle. And that's we used to get stories about Bigfoot being so frightening, chasing down people and all that stuff. Now you don't have that anymore, because Bigfoot is like now the poster child for the environmental movement. Now he's a shy vegetable eating ape creature, all that kind of stuff. He's come back to Harry and the Hendersons again, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
On block, which is the werewolf.
I talk to a lot of people that tell me Bigfoot stories, the Bigfoot guys we interview on here, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No, right.
But I've heard a lot of stories, and I just didn't believe in it, because I have hunted forever, for 30 years, let's say, and in the same area where they say Bigfoot lives, here where we live, Bigfoot lives in Shaver and Wishon. That's what they say. We have stores there that sell Bigfoot memorabilia and stuff like that, little mountain stores.
Right.
So I've hunted there forever. Never seen a footprint, never seen anything that would say, oh, look, a Bigfoot did that, right?
Right.
I did see 3 big pine trees lean together one time, and I thought, well, man, That took a lot of people to do that because there were some big trees, you know,
Yes.
and yeah. So I did see that.
Yeah.
Well, this last year I was hunting up there, same spot by myself. I came out of my trailer before I even made it down to the second step. I just stopped because there's a big, huge footprint right in the center of my camp. And I was like, man, somebody's messing with me. My name is written. I got a piece of black chalk out of the out of the burn pit.
Yeah.
And I went out front, and there's this big rock out by this road that you got to take to get to my camp. And I wrote my name real big on there. And I was thinking, somebody's seen my name. They know who I am. They know I do this paranormal stuff. So they're messing with me. You know, they made this print in my camp because when you're by yourself, for one, you don't want to admit there's something that big out there in the woods with you. And for two, I've been there forever and never seen that before. So about 4 hours after finding that print, I don't come home. Supposed to do a show on Friday. It's Friday. I was supposed to be home the day before. I'm not going to come home. I go to a spot where I can get a phone signal on a cell phone, call my wife, call Cassie, the lady that's in here now from Tales Told in the Dark, to let her know that I wasn't going to be home so she could tell everyone I'm not going to do a show. While I was on the phone with her, this was 4 hours after I found that print, I'm talking and walking at the same time. And as soon as I stop, a rock drops down in front of my face and hits my truck so hard. The lady on the phone that's in chat, she screamed. It was so loud. It dented the truck, fell right at my feet. And I returned to that same spot to use the phone like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks later. And then I found big, huge footprints with like grass growing out of them. They've been there forever. So I went from somebody that absolutely does not believe in the Dogman and the werewolf and Bigfoot to being somebody that says, I cannot tell you 100% that that's not in the mountains. You know, right. I haven't seen it, but there is definitely something in the mountains that makes big, huge human footprints, but really big.
Right. Well, that's going to lead into, I think, something Lady Ann is going to cover. And that's the idea of the tulpa and the quantum physics, because I had a similar story that you had, because, I've only had anecdotal evidence of anything that I've ever researched. But one day there was a snowstorm, and, I get up in the morning, school's canceled. I look out on this new fallen snow and everything. And I noticed there's some indentations in the snow. So I got very close, and I found out that it was a bear footprint, not a bear as an animal, but a human-sized footprint that, had no shoe or anything like that. You can see the toes and everything. It wasn't very large. It was about the size of a dollar bill. And I thought, well, this is very unusual. And I thought, well, it must have come out of the woods. So let me go see what's going on. So I started to go towards the woods, and the tracks just appeared out of nowhere. It was a right track, and then another right track, and then a left-right track, and then the cadence of the footsteps continued in the snow. And it came up to my window, and then it turned off and veered down the hill, and it disappeared as well right there. No, that's what I said. So whatever was going out on there, they had to know who we were, right? This doesn't seem like it was something random. It seemed as if it was almost a way of making some sort of contact with us, and almost a kind of revelation as well. It gave me goosebumps whenever you were telling that story, because how eerily similar it was. Nobody knows, I'm sure there's people around here. I'm not going to live around here with my head swollen, but I'm sure there's people around here that know that I do this kind of stuff every now and then. But for it to appear like that out of nothing, right out of nothing at all, and just kind of appear into my world, and then come looking into my world through the window and just disappearing. There's something more to that than just a random encounter. And I think Ann can eloquently now explain how these things could happen with the ideas of tulpas and quantum physics as well.
Well, see, okay. I've got so much information swimming around in my head with your stories, because I too have had an encounter, but mine wasn't seeing the footprints. It was, I saw the silhouette, and I was with other people, and we heard its call, and we heard it. It sounded like it ripped a tree out of the ground and smacked it against another tree. And it was, and I could feel it, that, what is that called? When you infrasound, there was that infrasound. And so, and I wasn't out there looking for that. So it's one question I've had, something that I've wondered, is if there could be two different things here. So we have the camp of the apers that believe in this as a flesh and blood thing. It's no different than the great ape. And then you have the people that are more into its energy. It can transport between dimensions, and it flies in UFOs. But so what if the other was more like a shapeshifter, or if it was something energetic that could be molded in some way by our subconscious? So what if there was, you have this person and they have something within them, something that maybe needs to come to the surface, that needs healing, and we somehow project that when we're out there in the forest, and it takes on that form. Because if you end up with encountering, in this scenario, if you encounter a dogman or if you encounter a Sasquatch, it could be a vastly different, experience. And it could be, like I said, a projection, or it could be something completely different, a shapeshifter that's out there that somehow can know maybe something that's locked away in our ancestral DNA, and it can read that and then take whatever form it knows that, would, I don't know, jolt us the most or something. But gosh, in regards to into the quantum physics and everything, I mean, here again, it comes back to, it could be as well that so many of us, like for me, my parents were rock hounders, and I grew up with the stories of Sasquatch. And I was always really nervous as a kid when we'd go out there. I hated being in the truck. I didn't want to be left alone, but I didn't want to get out of the car. And so I carried that fear with me for a really long time. And again, energy, they say, can't be created or destroyed. It just changes form. And so, what if there was enough people that passed through there, or between myself and my family or whatever, that then it thus, could be created? I mean, this is quite the rabbit hole. And I'm really excited that we're working on this, Ron, because I mean, I have so many questions, and I really feel like if we can somehow figure this all out and figure it out together as a community, that it could really kind of change the field and maybe help bring us together. Because I think that having these two separate camps, I've seen a lot of headbutting, if you will, and in the conviction and everything, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. And if we can look at things, if you can take a scientist who is a skeptic and work with somebody who is a believer and has experienced these things, I think that there could be something born out of that. But we're so busy putting up those walls that it's really hard to, jump down this particular rabbit hole that Ron and I are trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's opening up a little bit more. But one time, when I first got into this, 20 years ago or so, there were camps that were either flesh and blood or alien or what have you. And they would go out and investigate. And if they found some form of evidence that was contrary to what they believed this creature was, they would throw it out. You know what I mean? It didn't make any sense to them. So that was the red herring in the equation they had to toss out. I think the more people investigate, and as long as they keep an open mind, I think whenever you're talking about Bigfoot or UFOs or dogmen or ghosts or anything like that, there's a gray area, right? There's a blur. If you put up a Venn diagram, there's kind of like that meeting in the middle where everything converges. And I really want to investigate that convergence right there. What does this all mean? I think it's a great rabbit hole to go down, but it's a little bit deeper than I thought, because I think we're still falling down it. But hopefully people will get together and have intelligent conversations about these things rather than putting somebody down or picking on them, whatever. I mean, I've even seen people in this field fighting with other people and resorting to schoolyard tactics about saying, "Oh, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're overweight and stuff," which is sad.
Right.
We're adults doing this, right? And they talk about, the scientific world not taking us seriously. Benjamin Radford from this Skeptical Inquiry said, the ones that are doing most damage to the Bigfoot community is other Bigfoot researchers, right? They just sit back and watch the comedy going along, right? So that's what we're doing. That's what we're focusing on, and we're having a good fun time doing it. And I appreciate people like you allowing us on the show, giving us a forum in order to talk about it as well.
That's pretty great. I recently was just a quick story, sort of like Sonny's. I didn't see anything myself, but I was at a paranormal Paracon kind of a thing, small town, just one day. They asked me to come down and talk about UFOs, and they had a Bigfoot section and a ghost section, and we kind of covered it all in one day. People came from all over. It was a free event. And during one of the breaks, I was outside chatting with all the cool kids in the smoking area. And there was a lady that she's like, hey, because she had heard me talk a little bit earlier, and she recognized because I was wearing this kind of shirt. And she was like, hey, I don't believe in like UFOs or ghosts or any of that crap. And honestly, I don't even know what Bigfoot is or any of that stuff, but I saw something like a couple of weeks ago at my house. And that's the only reason I'm here. And basically, and from her own research, looking at that, she's like, I think there's a dogman around my house. Which, of course, where this tiny town is, you only need to travel about 15 minutes in any direction, and you are rural. You are all dirt roads, and you are out in the middle of nowhere. Neighbors are very far apart, whatever. And sure, of course, that was basically where she lived, and was driving back at night back to her house and down the dirt road. Only person there, blah, blah, blah. Clearly sees, because we even went through some descriptions. Well, what did it look like? Was it like this? Yeah, the whole description of everything. The only big thing that was different from her, from like your standard dog man, your werewolf looking, your American Werewolf in London type creature, was she said the snout was really short, like a boxer kind of a dog. It was really, really short. It wasn't like a longer snout like a wolf or Saint Bernard or something like that. But description wise, it was all your standard dogman fare, but it was clearly striding, Patty Bigfoot movie style across the street in front of the headlights. And she said it even kind of like paused, sort of like that one moment when, in the Patty, Patterson film, when it was right in front of her and then was gone, walked off into the woods. And she was like, okay, I don't know what that just was. She goes home. She hears like something big in the woods behind her house, like a couple days later. And now she's like getting jumpy that there's like maybe some weird homeless guy or something like that that's hanging out around her house. Now she's like peeking out the windows all the time. And she has a third sighting where, two sets of shrubbery, very open area in between. She hears rumbling in the woods. And again, full view, head to toe. When it gets into that open area, and again, it sort of stopped and paused and looked straight at her and kept right on going. It was like, and she said it before I was about to say it, she's like, it's like it wanted me to see it. It was like almost posing, as it went along. And then she never saw anything again. It was like over a 4 or 5 day period that these multiple sightings, and she hadn't heard anything since. And she's like, what is it? Am I okay to go to bed at night? Do I need to protect my dog? All of these things. She was looking for answers and for help. And we kind of talked her down off of the ledge a little bit and all of that. But I find it kind of curious. The big takeaway for me from that entire event was the pause when it was clearly in full view every time. This isn't something that's a wild creature that's, trying to dart across the road like a deer or, in front of the headlights or trying to stay hidden. It's obviously walking out into a wide open area where everyone can see it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To when you apply, maybe this is a manifestation or a tulpa or something like that. Because as far as Dogman, I think I remember some old Art Bell stories of the occasional Dogman, not a whole lot. And then like the last 4 or 5 years, just explosions of Dogman stories everywhere.
That's right.
And the more that, of course, the more that gets told, the more people see it, and blah, 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 which does kind of fit what you're talking about. That I found that kind of interesting, that it's sort of with that frame of mind of your tulpas, of your manifestations, of things like that, that where people are kind of creating this thing out of thin air. I thought that kind of fit. That's why I shared that. But
it does fit. Oh no, it absolutely does. That's part of the gray area of research into the paranormal, right? Now I do have a theory as well too. And you said about fairies at the very beginning. I do have a fondness, let's say, for the idea that elementals exist, right? There's an intelligence within the earth itself. So here's another little thing that we can talk about too. We talk about projections onto the world and everything. What happens if there is energy-based intelligence out there in this world? And because they're energy-based, they can project their energy within our mind and allow us to see something that's actually not there. Yeah. So we have no pictures of them, right? We have I've talked to thousands of people who I know that they saw something, right? There's something out there, but there's no pictures, or when there is pictures, it's blurry. It's almost, so is it possible that within each of us is kind of like, a switch to flip, right? And if we're in a certain situation at a certain time and our vibrations sync up or whatever, is it possible that we throw that switch? There's a circuit that's made, and now that which was hidden is now visible, right?
Ronald, I say that happened with me because, okay, UFO Garage is the guys that got me started doing this. They asked if I'd do a channel as well, basically, kind of helped me set it up. And Big-Willy actually taught me how to do this. He came on here and showed me. I had only seen this big, huge flying V that came really, really low over our neighborhood. It never made a sound. I thought it was a stealth bomber. For the longest time, I was telling everyone it was a stealth bomber. And then I met Jim Goodall. Jim Goodall informed me that I did not see the stealth bomber. He said, no, 100%. That's not what that was. But after seeing that, I started doing the show. Started talking to all these people that see things, and the next thing you know, I go from absolutely never seeing anything to last year, or this year, this hunting season, this last hunting season, seeing those tracks. About a year ago, maybe almost a year ago, I seen a stationary bubble in my house, and not just me, my son-in-law, my wife. See the stationary bubble that's not moving. So I go over and try to pop it. Tell everybody I'm going to pop it. And as soon as I go to touch it, shoots up through the ceiling. It goes from not ever moving to it just took off and it went through the ceiling. That's stuff that I don't see. I went through our barracks with my phone where we do our drag races. This place here, Eagle Field Drags. It's an old army base. They have abandoned barracks. I didn't believe in the ghost thing. I walked through the whole barracks. It's dark. It's midnight. Walking through the barracks. It's towards the end of the video because that's when I quit. I'll never do it again. I was walking through there and something slapped the wall behind me really hard. I couldn't even really move. Like I turned around. You can see in the video, I'm just stuck in one spot. Didn't like that. So I started seeing things like after that switch was flipped.
That's right.
I started seeing things like it's so weird. That is that kind of like a tulpas too, or does a tulpas have to be a person or a thing?
No. So a lot of places I consider that's haunted is not actually haunted by any departed soul. I believe it's people that have been going there time and time again or hearing the stories and bring with them preconceived notions of the place that they're going, and all that energy, all that expectation as people go in there. It's just simply, it's kind of like mold. It just starts forming and changing and becoming one with a place. That's the theory that I have about that. But I think the tulpa is more of a group reality where things are believed and then become projected and then become a life of its own, so to speak. But I think that what you have, see, the only thing I can really describe it as is almost a gift, right? That people have a blindfold on, right? And that blindfold is removed. One of my favorite, the allegory of, the Plato's a cave allegory in his Republic, where imagine if you're in a cave, right? And there's a fire behind you and all you see is shadows cast on the wall. That's what you believe is reality, right? Because you're not seeing what's outside that cave. You're seeing the shadows projected on the wall. And think of what the liberty would be if you would get up and look beyond that fire, then you would see reality. I think that what we have here in our world is glimpses into the other reality, right? I think that we are separated by, a veil was too overused. No derision towards you, Lady Ann. I just am trying to find a better word to use. But it's like there is a separation between worlds, but it's almost as if our world and the other world is stacked up one and the other. And sometimes we can go into it and they come into ours. At least that's my firm belief. And I also believe in the idea of the Gaia theory. Are you guys familiar with the Gaia theory? Right. So the idea that the earth itself is an intelligent organism, right? And if it's an intelligent organism, could it then indeed have other inhabitants on it that we just are not aware of, right? And those inhabitants, we can call them fairies, we can call them elementals, we can call them a whole bunch of things. But I think that we as human beings, if you look at things like Stonehenge, and you look at things like Avebury, and you have all these great classic tales of everything, I think that at one time, all of humanity was in this harmony, in this frequency, right? And I do believe it's still out there, but we have decided to leave it, and have electric light and work jobs and have a hustle and bustle life. But that energy is still out there resonating. And there's other things out there resonating within that energy. And it was natural to us until we decided to form civilizations. And now it's strange and foreign to us. That's where things that go bump in the night are from. But it's still part of us. And I think at any time that we can step back into that frequency, if we have an open mind and we're willing to do it.
Sonny, I just realized, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I think I was muted that entire time.
You
were? I
You were?
was, yeah.
I was waiting.
I don't know what happened, so I'm so sorry.
We couldn't hear that voice.
I realized, Sonny finally messaged her, if you're trying to talk, you are definitely muted.
I thought you knew because it says mute right there.
I don't know why. I kept looking at my other settings. I wasn't even looking in here because I thought it was good. I'm so sorry, though. Sorry. But I did have one question for both Ann and Ronald, actually, if it's okay to ask.
Mm-hmm.
What are your guys' thoughts? This is one of the things that we hear quite a bit of, and it sounds like you guys are alluding to this, the difference between, it's kind of two parts, I guess, the whole Dogman versus werewolf, and then where do you guys stand with the lineage of Anubis from ancient Egypt tying into that? What do you guys feel about that?
I didn't even
Go ahead, Ron. Take on the Anubis part.
All right, the Anubis part. All right, so I'm a huge fan of Anubis, right? So I don't think people understand how ancient this deity is, right? It actually is before the Old Kingdom period. So we're in the pre-dynastic period. So we're talking about something that probably goes back 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, because it is just so ancient, and we can see ancient depictions of Anubis without the head of a dog, right? With a human head, right? So the idea that, this is an African jackal, probably, we can still use the word wolf because that's their little niche that fills it there. But I think the idea is that people have always wondered what is on the other side, right? And you're naturally afraid of dogs because they're intelligent and all that stuff. Now think about this. You come together in a civilization and you bury your dead, and all of a sudden, probably at night, right around twilight, these dogs start sneaking into the funerary complexes and ravaging the bodies of your aunt or uncle or whatever, right? So I think what happens in the human imagination is you start deifying those things that you fear most, because if you can deify it, you might be able to interact with it in a way that it will serve a purpose to you, right? So I think what happens with Anubis is this is the ancient Egyptians trying to deal with very natural sources like wolf predation and things like that. And whenever these animals go to scavenge the dead, I think there's a natural intention there to think that it's doing good things instead of bad things. So very early on, the relationship between the Egyptians and the jackal was that they believed that it was coming to convey the soul of the dead to the afterlife rather than just using it as a food source. Doesn't I mean that calms me a little bit more, right? So then you see something in the wild, and all of a sudden it becomes something not so frightening, right? You still have a reverence towards it, you know. You still fear it because it's part of the pantheon, but you know that its presence is there for a reason, right? It's there to take your loved one to, you know, the ever after or whatever. So I think that that's how Anubis came out, and that's actually a chapter that's going to be in Lady Ann and I's book about the deification of the dog, because some things just cannot be domesticated. You know, you need that chaos out there, and that chaos of nature is extremely frightening to human beings because we, quite frankly, can't control it. And in a pre-medical society, pre-scientific society, we couldn't explain what was going on either. So there had to be something going on, and that is my take on it. That is how I believe that it went from something that was feared and kind of looked down upon because it was doing this horrible stuff, and then it becomes deified because we need it to be a god in order to satisfy our emotions.
To be fair, I feel throughout humanity's history, we've kind of always, especially back in the old days, anthropomorphized kind of everything versus, you know, thunder in the sky, you know, the gods are angry, or earthquakes or floods. Oh, you've displeased our gods. What have you done? You need to straighten up. So all of you need to straighten up. You know, kind of a thing.
That's a great point. So I'm a cradle Catholic, right? Since the cradle, right? And I still go to mass and I still believe in everything. But when we look at the Old Testament, it's odd because how often God is represented as a storm cloud, right? Or a pillar of fire. Or so we have to see. I mean, we're gonna look at this. So we have created God in our own image, if you really think about it, right? From the time of the burning bush, right? God was very part of nature. He was never separated from it, right? So I think what you see there early on is the civilized approach to dealing with the divine, right? They had no idea what was going on, right? So all these things were happening. So they start, as you said, personifying things, because if your God now becomes a person, you can ask him for favors, right? You can understand what's going on there. You can communicate with them. But yeah, we have to look and say all these primitive societies and all this kind of stuff, because if that is the case, we have to understand that the Judeo-Christian belief system very much started out as a nature-based religion that soon formed into a more anthropomorphic one because we chose to do it. You know, in the Old Testament, God is not showing up in human form. He has messengers and everything like that. But for the most part, he is definitely associated with nature. And the way you could commune with God in the Old Testament is going out in the middle of nowhere or up on a mountain, right? That's how you do things. And even in the New Testament, whenever we have the transfiguration and eventually the ascension into heaven, it's away from everybody. You're in the natural world, right? You're in mountains because that's where God is. But it's also very frightening for a church that's trying to hold power over people and say your God is everywhere. You know, it's ridiculous that you have to go into a building to find God. It's ridiculous that anybody even thinks that kind of stuff, but it does warrant that there's control there. You have to pay a fee, and you have to go through a chain of command in order to get what you need from them, right? And so we're talking about all this kind of stuff, but it indeed has something that's very recognizable if we also look at our own religions as well.
See, it's really interesting though, because like in my beliefs, I believe that we are really we are co-creators. So we are constantly creating our own reality. You know, and I just did a show on manifestation and how, you know, when we focus our energy, and you know, that's the thing is a lot of people have said, you know, oh, magic is this and it's that. but it's really science, I think, just undiscovered. It hasn't been, really understood yet. And so in the ways that we can focus our energy, whether we're lighting a candle, whether we're making a vision board, whether we're praying to a deity, we're talking to Thor, we're, calling upon Odin, whatever it is, we're focusing that energy to a specific thing it is that we want. And because we are focusing that, we're sending out that energy, and energy, we're magnets. So we're going to draw that back to us. So the question I have is, why is it that we separated from ourselves and we took ourselves out of it, and we're no longer sitting there being like, okay, we're not the co-creators of our reality. We now have to look outside of ourselves. The answer has always been, to me, within ourselves. We have the answers. Where did we go that we separated, that we had that big separation?
I think a lot of our book does deal with this as well too, because humans can't handle responsibility very well, right? So
Right.
yeah, so whenever you look at structuralism, right?
I point to the two examples here.
So much of this relies on structuralism because human beings like to think very binary, right? They like to think of good and bad, up and down, civilized, uncivilized, man and wild man. So everything that we talk about. So what happens then whenever you have a religion? You now have the way to communicate good and now evil, right? Because you have to have evil there as being the ultimate opposition to the good. And as we as humans start looking at ourselves and saying, well, that man is good and that man is evil due to his actions, I think that is whenever monster making comes into play. We see instances throughout the Middle Ages where there are crimes done by very evil men. And whenever they are questioned, it always comes down to be the devil made me do it, right? I was out in the woods. He gave me a belt made of wolf skins, and that transformed me into something. We do not want to admit that we as human beings are capable of such heinous and barbarous things, right? We don't want to admit that. So what we do is we project the werewolf onto them or whatever monster. We can say that person wasn't in his right mind because he became an animal, right? And that takes the human responsibility out of it. At the end of the day, when we look at these creatures, when we sit down and we examine them, when we take the werewolf and we put it down on the psychiatrist's couch and we start analyzing what it's going on, it is always going to be a human with some very severe character flaws that is wearing the mask, right? It's a Scooby-Doo moment. You're right. Take off the mask and it's a human being there. We don't want to, look at World War II. We don't want to admit that we can do the things that we can, but we very readily do it. We don't want to take responsibility for it. So we transfer it onto the monster.
Speaking to that, and I know you guys hit on this earlier in regards to saying that perhaps we're projecting this image or dealing with that. And I know one of the questions that one of the people had were, if we're going to take this Dogman at face value, whatever you want to call it, the Lycan, werewolf, a Dogman, are there good werewolves or good Dogman? And do we have encounters that are positive?
Yeah. I've heard of a lot of positive ones. And that's been another thing that I've been thinking about a lot too, is the experiences that we've had throughout our entire life and our religious beliefs and how we look at the world. And this is something that I don't have any research done on this. I would love to be able to jump into somebody who has done the research and they have the encounters to look and see, okay, the people that look at the world as the glass is half empty, and they sit there and go, oh, this is just my luck, of course, and this bad thing is happening and this bad thing is happening. And let's say they have an encounter. Okay, so is their encounter going to be terrifying and bad? And then on the flip side, you have the person that is all love and light. Are they meeting this dog man and being like, oh my gosh, it gave me a crown of flowers and it was, all this stuff? It would be really interesting to be able to jump into that and find that out, because I do think that our experiences throughout life shape our paranormal encounters.
I was a pretty glasses half empty kind of guy when I went through my near-death experience, and it was actually a pleasant experience and totally changed my life to where now everything, I am grateful for everything that happens, the good stuff, the bad stuff, the stuff that I'm, even though it might frustrate the heck out of me, I have to sit there and calm myself down and think about it and go, if I'm having some adverse effects here, there's something I need to learn. There's something I need to learn because, and once I learn it, I'm going to be better for it. Everything that is happening, my life is extended 10 years now, and I am grateful for all of them.
Amen. That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and like you were saying, if it depends on, I think, the state of mind of the person at the time.
Yeah.
Right. That is the question. Depending on where you're at in your life, if you're not ready for something like that, if you're not ready for that healing, would it still be a positive experience, or would it be a negative one at that point? And then when you are ready for that, then is it a positive one?
Yeah.
Well, I had to take it as a positive one. I went through some very big changes. I woke up in a hospital from a coma, paralyzed from the chest down when I first woke up. And that was definitely, I had to find a way to be grateful for stuff. And since then, pretty much only just gotten a little bit better each little stretch. I notice a little bit more feeling, a little bit more movement. Because if you've been watching the show, everybody, you've noticed I can get up and walk around, even though that was one of the first things the doctors told me is it would never happen.
Oh, wow.
One of the first things I told him is it would happen. And everyone got mad at me.
No, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean,
just get up and let's go fishing. And then everyone was mad at me because he couldn't move. Was it a month later? He wiggled his big toe.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. See,
it's funny.
I love your attitude.
My inspirational movie, Kill Bill Volume 2.
Yeah.
In the very beginning of that movie, when at the end of the first one, they killed the chick in the beginning of the second one, she's not dead. She's paralyzed in the back of the pussy wagon. And she's laying there, not able to move, and you see her big toe go, doop, doop, and she goes, okay, now the hard part's over. And I was talking to nurses and whatnot, and they were like, that's true. If you can make that connection to the farthest point, then you can concentrate and teach your body to make connections to the other points.
Yes, that's good. And also what's interesting is from this moment on, my van shall now be called the Pussy Wagon.
Oh, yes, sure.
Thank you.
Hey guys,
No,
I'm not kicking you out, but I am keeping you on schedule. You guys got 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We're right at that hour mark.
If you would like to go longer, you're more than welcome. But if you want to stick to your hour, you're right there.
Well, you know what? Let's go to
I got little ones.
Yeah, I got little ones too. I can go at least until a quarter after. Does that sound good? I can give you guys like another 20 minutes.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
See, we're
that's
parents, unfortunately. See, we're parents, and we
Unfortunately,
kids. And if you don't feed them, like people in suits show up at your door knocking, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
let's do this.
This guy right here knows.
Yeah.
This
Oh
guy
yeah.
right
There
here
you go. There you go. Yeah.
How many do you have, Willie?
At least 4.
Oh, there you go. There
At
you
least.
Oh.
Come on, that.
go. Yeah.
It's just 4.
I've got 5 and a granddaughter, but my oldest son doesn't live here.
Oh,
I've got
I got
That's
5
awesome.
and my ex-wife's kid.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what a special man does. Yeah. Wow. But I will bring up about the incidences of all the history that I've read. I do have a story about a good werewolf. Do you want to hear this one?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, great. So the year, let me set the year for you. The year is 1692. So as the Salem witch trials are going on, witch hunting is sweeping Europe, right? So this is nothing that was coming out of a vacuum, right? The Salem witch trials was just a symptom of what was going on in the rest of the world. So as the witch trials are raging, it's the witch trials, and they're also persecuting werewolves as well too, because in order to become a werewolf in the imagination, you also had to practice witchcraft in order to do it, right? It's the work of the devil. It was okay to be a witch, but witchcraft means that you're now aligned with Satan himself, and that's where you get your powers from. So they find this old guy. He is 80 years old. His name is Theis, Theiss. They get him. They bring him before the Inquisition. They say, "Are you a werewolf?" And he slowly begins to say, "Yes." So at this point, all the good old boys are getting the wood ready. You know, they're lighting up the matches because they've got themselves a witch burning to do. But he starts explaining himself. He goes, "Hold on a second there, guys. Hold on. I'm a werewolf of God, a hound of God, because according to this gentleman, hell would open up 2 times out of the year, unleash witches out into the world, and they would destroy the crops, and it would hurt people, right? So 2 days out of the year, God would transform him and his friends into werewolves, and they would fight in the depths of hell against the witches, so they wouldn't come out and prey upon human beings." So interestingly enough, the judge believes it. He believes it. Now, Theis doesn't go away scot-free. He gets whipped, I think, about 8 times or something like that. So there's an 80-year-old man who endures a punishment of lashing, and they believed his story that he was a werewolf of God.
That just sounds like a smart man on the spot.
I would
I want to see that movie.
That's
Honestly.
just
Yeah, no, they're gonna kill me anyways.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, I want to see that movie so badly. But we'll have to make it. Yeah. So I mean, but that's the only case I've ever heard. But I think that we now, like, we know about skinwalkers, right? And by definition, a skinwalker can't be good because it was made out of you know, it was made by a witch for evil purposes, right? That's the thing about a skinwalker. At least that's a lot of the theories. Again, we're not going to appropriate anything, but usually that is the way you get a skinwalker, right? So I really don't think I can't think of any encounters that somebody saw a werewolf or a dogman and said that was excellent. I love that encounter. You know, I've never heard anything like that. It always has a sense of fear to it.
We were talking about Bigfoot earlier, and my problem with a lot of the Bigfoot stories myself is I've seen my own footprints on the news as Bigfoot footprints.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, I got home. I'm a pretty big guy. And when I was standing in the snow, I watched the snow melt away from my footprints from my feet.
Bigger.
While I was waiting for my daughters to use the restroom, and I'm standing there guarding the door in a patch of snow that most of the snow around us is all melted.
Wow.
My daughters come out. We go get all load up and come home.
In my truck.
Watching the news the next morning, and Bigfoot sighting. We had noticed some commotion down the hill when we were there, but we didn't go see what was going on or anything. But the next morning on the news, my footprints were on the news as Bigfoot tracks.
And then I told him that ain't us, cuz they talk. And then it showed a picture in the paper, and it's got my
Wow.
truck in it. They
Just
actually
pick up to the
took
background.
the pictures while we were still there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that was so funny to us. And then people asked, "Did you guys tell anybody?" We're like, "No, we never told anyone that." I mean, it was just somebody that made it up, and we knew
Yeah.
it wasn't real, so we never thought about that. We didn't tell
Right.
anybody.
Yeah. Well, that's
I
a,
didn't want to bust nobody's chops. Let them believe it.
right, but that's a great illustration about the current climate today. It's really putting your finger on the pulse because people want to believe, don't they? I mean, people want to naturally believe in the paranormal. Little kids are drawn to this kind of stuff. And I think, again, I will compliment you again. Shows like this allow the format in which to talk about, different viewpoints. And so do conferences for the most part. But we really have to take them out of the marginal. We really have to bring them into focus where it's just not considered a bunch of wackos talking about this. You have to have scientists talking about this. You have to have so many different people really focusing on this pervasive, these pervasive events that's going on. Something is going on, whether it's psychological or sociological or extraterrestrial, whatever the case may be. People should talk about this because something is going on.
It's a lot more widespread than people would think. Like it's a lot more widespread. It's kind of blanketed over everyone.
It is. But the interesting thing about that, though, is some countries, some cultures have it so tied to their religion and their spirituality that they're almost impossible to take apart, right? So they're entwined. So a lot of people disregard that because it has that religious feel to it. But, a lot of Native American cultures, First Nation cultures, Bigfoot.
All it comes from somewhere, though.
Yep.
It comes from somewhere.
You're right.
I've always felt that, even as a little kid growing up, and similar, Ron, you mentioned growing up in on a church pew kind of deal. Like, did you say Catholic cradle, right?
That's right, cradle Catholic, right.
And having that background, anything outside of angels or demons was like, not really, wasn't there. And I remember thinking about like the story of centaurs or any of these things and going, it's probably not what we have in this modern depiction. But Papa Willie, to your point, I feel something there, right? Unicorn referred to many times. You're going to go with like a Bible, the Leviathan, the dragons. They may not be what we have now, but something existed to give birth to this. And interestingly enough, you guys were talking earlier about this manifestation or twisting of maybe even oneself dealing with things. If you look up some of these ancient drawings, like I think I shared one, Sonny, if you want to show it, you don't have to, but it's just interesting that it's always dealing with the transition, which obviously you talked about them being the god of death and whatnot, but there are times in many of their depictions where they seem to be transforming not only dogmen, but many other things. And it just makes me wonder if there was something legitimately there to that point.
Right.
And who knows? I mean, we'll never know. But to your point, Papa Willie, I do feel like I don't think these stories just came out of nothing, out of thin air, and to be so widespread. Who knows, though? Because we don't, at this point in time that I'm aware of, have any rock hard evidence to be able to point to, like, there's a smoking gun. Besides maybe the Patterson film. Maybe.
Right.
They're so similar. These stories, they might be different stories from different regions, but are they really that different of stories? Like, some of the names are different and whatnot, and they're pretty much the same story told all over the place.
Yeah. You're right.
Well, and I think that at some point, we were born into what I've always heard referred to as the Great Forgetting. And like what you were saying, Ron, we've come so far away from our roots. When's the last time most people have stuck their feet in the dirt and just been like that? When's the last time that you've slept just under the stars? We're so disconnected from the earth and its energies. And, there's a whole, this is a whole nother rabbit hole, but I've wondered a lot about, because if you look at ancient, like the Egyptian pyramids, you have like limestone and you have, quartz crystal or rose quartz. And there's talk about water being there. And it's like there was some type of technology back then that activated things or amplified things or, and this is with healing. This is with, just everything. And we've forgotten it all and we're so far away from it. And I think that if we could and it's crazy because it's almost like it's right there behind this veil. Like it's so close that you can almost, and we keep skirting around it. I think it's like it's right there, but we're just on the outside of it. And if we could somehow just touch that once again, it would open up so much, including this entire conversation that we're having right now, and what you're talking about with transformation and what they were doing back on those hieroglyphs and everything.
Yeah. I think that Tesla got close to the understanding that everything is related, but you couldn't make any money off of it, so then he was kind of thrown away. That's the other problem as well, too. And I do believe that the human race has forgotten far more than it knows right now. You know, I do believe that. Yeah, and looking through history, I mean, it even shows you as much. But I think a lot of it has to do with what benefit would there be if you would break through to the other side? You know, of course, besides writing a Doors song. But I think that you do have this commodity-based thing, and we don't know. Maybe the government and other agencies have taken a peek through the veil. You know, I really think that has happened as well too.
There are some that do take the whole idea of a tulpa and manifestation to that extreme, where just thousands of years of organized religion and federal government education systems that intentionally keep us from basically manifesting our own reality out of our own heads. So
yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. Now, this is almost mind-numbing whenever I talk about this. So whenever you know, bike makers from Dayton, Ohio, the Wright brothers, whenever they flew their first flight, okay, that flight was as long as a 747's wingspan, right? That was their first flight. Now you're expecting me to believe that within 50 some years you were able to put a man on the moon from that. See, these are those little hints that you get. You know, I understand that we're smart people, right? We're capable of doing a lot of things, but to go, you know, 300 feet on the beach in South Carolina or North Carolina, wherever it is, to all of a sudden now walking the moon in one lifetime, right? Yep.
Right. But my argument for how we could have that kind of acceleration is we do what our country does best. We weaponized it. We had World War I, World War II. Aircraft played gigantic roles in that, and we had massive leaps and bounds in our technology from those days.
That's right,
guys. A quarter past snuck up on us, and I don't want to get out of here without you guys telling everyone what you got coming up next. And also, guys, I know we had them on here for a short time, so if everyone would like to see them again, you let me know in the comments after the show, and let me know what a good time is for you guys, and we'll get you guys rebooked if you'd like to come back on and talk more about everything.
Oh yeah.
We'll have you guys on a Friday or a Saturday. We'll do whatever day you want, and we'll go as long as you guys want.
We can go all night long.
All Ronald's info for the books, guys, is in info down below us. But Ronald, you can tell them also where they can find them in case I didn't get out.
Yeah, Ronald Murphy on Facebook. You know, I'm glad to make new friends and everything. That's great. And talk and argue and all that good stuff. That's awesome. And of course, Amazon. That's just the way people do things anymore, is Amazon. Although I will point out, as of last year, Walmart is starting to carry some of my books, which I'm very happy about.
Really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And besides that, I'm just, you know, putting new content out on my OnlyFans. You know, that's about all I'm doing right now. OnlyFans and
you ride your book naked there, guys.
That's right. Yeah, it's just me in my Indiana Jones hat, so you can imagine the fun of that.
Oh man!
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that wasn't a whip. Oh, it's
oh my gosh!
Oh my goodness!
That's great.
Well, and we're writing a new book.
Gosh, working on.
Yeah, so we are coming back into the caravan. What we're wanting to do is, you know, come back and interview people and start getting our episodes on there. Possibly do it in a live version as opposed to doing the pre-record like I used to. We have a Patreon, and one of the thoughts that we had is as we're kind of going through this book, it'd be a lot of fun to kind of put on classes, if you will, for each chapter. And that would all be over in our Patreon. So you can find all that just by Googling the Caravan of Lore. I'm on Facebook under Ann Selene. You can friend request me. Just send me a message when you do. And then my book, I actually have copies that I can autograph for people if they're interested in my book.
Oh, awesome.
So just message me for that. So yeah, there we
And
go.
our book hopefully will be out by springtime.
Yeah.
Very
Books we're
nice.
working on right now.
One more time. How many books do you have already, Ron?
About 23, but again, not all paranormal based.
That's fine. 23, and then this is going to be the first one with Lady Ann, right?
It
The
is,
first
yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Yep. Our
Yeah.
first one.
Yep.
Going to be awesome, and we
It's
can't
gonna be
wait.
awesome, yeah.
We can't
She
wait
has
to
this
see and hear more.
life. I mean, she's capable of bringing the world of the paranormal into very layman's terms, which is that's a gift. It really is, because I like to ramble, so she at least makes me focused.
Puts back on it.
I try. There's a poetry to it for sure. But this has been so wonderful. I'm so honored that I was able to come back.
This
This
is
was
good.
amazing to be able to kind of
Thank you for
jump
being.
off here and talk about this subject. So again, thank you, and I'm really looking forward to coming back. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Me too, me too.
all right.
We'll talk more after the show. We'll talk more, and then we'll talk in Messenger or something, and we'll figure out
Yeah.
another good date for you guys, and we'll make sure it's a weekend, and we'll go a little longer because you guys have way
Perfect.
too many more stories, and
We do
another hour show. I think I'd
Right.
have to have you back again. So we're gonna have to go 2 hours,
Well, thank you.
and then I'm gonna bring you back again anyway
Awesome.
after the book.
Well,
Right?
I'm having fun. I'm having fun, guys. I'm having fun.
Same
You guys
here.
were fantastic. I'll keep you guys in my prayers as well, too, especially you back there, Pop. No, you're Sonny. I'm sorry. Yeah, Sonny. But yeah, guys. So yeah, if you need us for anything, give us a call, and we'll be here with bells on, because that
All right.
scares off the cryptids.
It does.
That's why Santa did it. That's how he stayed safe out there.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Have a
We'll
great
see
night.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
And, we'll see you again soon,
That was
guys.
great.
That was a good show.
Good job.
That was
dude.
good.
Packed, concise, right to the
Did-
point on all
did
of
you-
that stuff. It was great.
Enzo, you like when I'm serious, huh? And then can actually run the show and advertise it right. And
I know. I was like, wow, he's doing great.
I have so
Yeah.
many questions.
God,
I
this
had
is so
so
much
many photos
There's
up here
so much
too.
more.
Where I was like,
If you
So
show up on
many.
time, we could discuss that.
I guess.
I told you were going to get in trouble if you showed up late.
Shh. Listen. Big-Willy shows up on Big-Willy time. Okay,
That's it.
that time revolves.
Willie is
I don't even show up to
always
work on
shows up when
time.
he's supposed to.
I really do. No, the history though. I mean, you would need him back for that because there's so much.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to the very least, not even saying if we're gonna ignore like, hey, is Dogman real? What? Just like, where is the origins of this history coming from? But have you guys heard about the Dogman head, like the explorers, what are they called, the cynosyphilis or whatever? You guys ever
No,
heard about those
understand.
dudes?
No.
That sounds familiar. Go ahead.
Here, I'll
though,
share a
with what
photo.
it
Here,
is.
Sonny. Here's a photo
I got
of
it.
these guys.
Oh, now that the experts are gone, you're just going to start making stuff up, Willie.
I'm just gonna make up these words. Cynosyphilis.
How is that different from any other night? Wait a minute. Is that-
Facts.
Have you ever heard about it?
I swear, this is I actually don't have a direct
Ah.
photo of them, but here we could throw up this one.
Wow. I don't know what happened to him.
All right, let's see.
I can still pull up.
Where did they
something
go?
that,
I just came back. I
don't
just
know.
realized what you were saying that for. All right, so like this one is one of like there's a couple, and besides the depictions in ancient Egypt, obviously there they are.
what
You
are we
have-
looking at? Where is this from?
So this is based on the supposed that whatever it was called, cynosyphilis or whatever. I swear
can't
it's
be
the
what it's
cynosyphilis. I looked at it, I read it, I laughed. I went to Google. I said, "Hey, how do I enunciate this?" It did it. It played it. I recorded me saying it. It said yes, and I was like, "Okay." But it's the dog-headed men. Is this basically saying there's this ancient race of dog-headed men better known as the cynosyphilii? A cynosyphilis was a city, so excuse me, essentially a man with the head of the dog. But it's just interesting that I think even at one point Christopher Columbus hit on that. Didn't he come across some island where he claimed he had come across these dog men similar to almost looking like bulldogs? They had like the head of a bulldog.
I don't recall that.
Don't recall that one? I could have swore that I looked up a long time ago. That was one of the ones that threw me off. That I was like, I've never heard of this one. And that's when I came across this one. But if they're talking about the idea of Dogman like Anubis and life and death and what he maybe looks like now, I don't know. I just think there has to have been something, to your point earlier, Papa Willie, throughout history that this was being based off of just a little bit. There's no way all the encounters are fake, even if, to their point, it's you dealing with your own self. It could be a dying of oneself. I mean, Anubis, his representation in Egypt was a god of passing, right? Which I think Ronald hit on about the jackals digging up the graves. But I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Is all we can really say.
They ain't here to tell us.
That's
They're
it.
not.
These are all questions that maybe if folks in the chat want to see them back, fill up our
100%.
comments after the show goes and record here. You can ask those same questions yourself, which we can show them. They can come right back, and we can have a whole other show with it. And as they said, like a Friday or Saturday, Sunday show where they're not working and have kids and responsibilities and adult things like that. They can. But I know somebody will use any excuse not to hang out with us. I get it. But they said they'd love to come back, so we'll work around their schedule if they want to come back.
Heck yeah. Well, what are people's thoughts? I guess I don't know if you're wrapping up, Sonny, or whatever. I know I told you I had to go by 11. I don't know if you're now.
No, I wasn't. We can go.
Oh, if you're not, because I wanted to ask the listeners a question. I just wanted to know, because I thought one of the things that was going to be talked about tonight, and I kind of wanted to really pick the brains on, even though they answered it in, I guess, a more roundabout way, is there any differentiation in this idea of a dogman, a werewolf, a lichen, and these different, I mean, especially the lichen, or even you could say a werewolf, and he was talking about skinwalkers and stuff. What is the differentiation here, or do we just summing this up as one cute little package here?
I would think there are a whole lot of cute little one package depicted in different areas by different people.
Different descriptions of the same thing.
And remember, people,
Right.
big things can come in little packages. That's the important thing to take away from this right now.
We're talking about the OnlyFans again, aren't we?
Yeah,
Only dad
it's
bods. I would take Ronald and sign him up right now. I've got him. I'll
I
market him.
know.
I got him.
But they're mostly what they were talking about tonight, though, with Ron was that it's not necessarily that people are imagining these things; it's they're actually creating. They're bringing them into existence.
Manifesting them.
That's what a tulpa is. It's something that's not real that you've manifested into reality. And now everybody see, because like when was the first time anybody here heard of the Dogman? We versus like Bigfoot, because we've heard about Bigfoot for a long, long time. At least for me, I want to say may have been like an Art Bell show 20 years ago that maybe one night was a Dogman reference, but
Dogman
it wasn't
was pretty-
until like the last several years that it's really exploded.
I know
Oh,
the first
only
time.
has been
I always
popular here.
heard it kind of a combination of it and Chupacabra stories growing
Yeah,
up forever, just like Bigfoot.
that's our
Oh,
dog.
okay.
The first time I ever heard of like Slender Man or the Hat Man was, I think, from Gemma Jade, and I was thinking it was when I first met her. She was on the show, I think, and I was thinking, man, this lady's crazy. and then people told me, no, a lot of people see that. And I was like, get out of here. Some just skinny shadow looking dude, you know. And they're like, yeah.
Apparently there's a mall in Miami that had a whole bunch
of people that see that, you know. But the first time I heard it, I was like, what is she talking about? She's just seeing her own shadow and she's scared. But yeah, that's a real thing too. See?
But I think like every area has their, whatever their maybe perhaps cryptid for their area. Yeah, because like the Michigan Dogman is, which it's weird that he even has that name, or some people refer to him that, if you look it up. And really, there's no claim to Michigan owning that because there has been far bigger encounters in other places and going way back. But at least in Michigan, because of the song, I would say if you were an outdoors person and all, you'd heard the song at least once. So since the 80s on is when that really started. There was a guy, as a joke, it was done up as an April Fool's joke originally. He wrote this song, like a silly kind of song for April Fools, and it was about the Michigan Dogman. He talked about a city up in the UP that just completely went missing. They're not missing, but basically everybody just left, and nobody really had answers as to where they went, and they seemed to just left everything. So anyways, it was written up as a joke, the very original one, and then people started calling in. Or maybe was it Halloween, Enzo, now that I'm thinking about this? It might have been for Halloween, now that I'm thinking about it, because it was supposed to be creepy. And people started calling in, asking more about, hey, where's this idea coming from? Because they've had an experience. And then he's done a rendition, updated the song every so often. But at least in Michigan, I've known about Dogman all my life. I would say the same with
Really?
Bigfoot. Yeah.
See, maybe I'm the one that's just sheltered, I guess, and I just never heard of it until like a few years ago.
To be fair, what are the little guys that were over there in California? The little hill walkers that look like they came from.
Man, we got the worst cryptid here.
The
what do they call those things?
Night walkers.
Night walkers.
Yeah,
and they kind of like
just
shuffle
legs.
along.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know about those until like maybe 5 years ago. But they've been around since.
I didn't know about that until I seen it on the show.
Yeah, that one video.
That song was written way back in the
from
day.
Fresno.
The freaks come out
I
at night.
grew up here in the country where they were supposed to be at.
Freaks come out at night.
Oh, Jess corrected us. Sorry, Miss Holman.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Fresno Night
notebooks.
Crawler.
Yeah, there you go.
Crawler. All they look like is some dudes in stilts and a sheet.
Yep. To me, that is not very convincing to me.
Well, but have you looked up the history and why it's so bad? First of all, it was recorded on VHS, old school security camera.
Yeah.
And then, take it a step further, guy who's doing security, the news channel, goes and instead of taking the tape, recorded the video playing on an old TV screen from whenever it was, 2007 or 8, whenever.
He just recorded.
Literally shot that,
Yep.
and then that was rendered down again. So that's why the quality is just absolutely.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, even if it is real, it don't look very scary.
Yeah.
I like the ones kind of lost. It's like,
Yeah, wandering all around.
Yep. Look like
It's actually one of the biggest arguments of filming some other screen about that latest UFO video. The what do they call it?
the
Jellyfish.
squid, the
UFO,
jellyfish.
yeah.
I did see that making its rounds.
What?
The jellyfish.
Jellyfish in the sky? I haven't seen one.
Jellyfish
Closet this
UFO.
is like
It's apparently somewhere in Iraq. And
Like
I
that movie,
don't know if it's on there. You just search
yeah.
jellyfish UFO. You'll find it. And it kind of looks like a jellyfish. It's because it's got little things hanging down from it. It seems kind of big, and it's floating along. My original thing was, okay, maybe that's a balloon, but they watch it for a long time, and a balloon will kind of like rotate and spin around and stuff like that, which this didn't do. It kind of was stationary as it floated by. But
What about the Miami incident? Because I at least know of one person in the chat who got very fired up when I brought that up to them at one point. Okay, they had some opinions. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about the Miami thing? You guys know about that, right?
I've never seen anything on it other than us talking about it on here.
Yep.
the couple of videos I've seen are the ones that aren't obviously fake, TikTok nonsense, that, or at least you see people like walking by, and then there's one where flash or distortion in the very far, like on the very edge of the screen. It's like, see right there, that could have been a dimensional doorway opening up. It's like, I don't know. And the one that I saw earlier, where you saw like images behind a crowd of people, but everything, like the entire picture was severely out of focus. So it could have been anything.
Yeah, I think, and there was a lot of false information, obviously, rumored around in regards to it, people faking, because everything about that clout life now, so they're trying to get as many clicks as they could. And even I felt, there was one where I really didn't do enough research, and this person I'm talking about pointed this out, because the thing that was concerning to me is, like, I'll bypass all of people's opinions. I look for, like, actual, personally, usually as much as I can, like, paperwork. What's the paper trail? We know there was an event. We can all agree on that. The police did receive reports. The part where I had misinformation is there was rumors that they had shut down some of the air traffic stuff in the area. And that could have been maybe because they were just flying a news helicopter in.
Well, because they had
really
police helicopters up as well. Yeah. And I don't know where the airport was in relation to where this mall was. If it was anywhere where the takeoff and landing area for that airport would be interfering with whatever this, because the police, they didn't know. Like a lot of times whenever they get a call, it's sketchy until they get on scene and get the eyes on it. The original story was a dozen to 20 young people fighting. Then it was at the mall throwing fireworks at each other.
Yeah.
The police probably heard fireworks and thinks that might be guns. So that could be gunplay that people are just mistaking for that. And apparently they've got a new procedure there in Florida that it's only like a month or so old, basically a giant panic button, I guess, that every free police person that's not actively doing something swarms on one particular scene for just that kind of emergency where you've got 10, 20 people in a shootout at a mall, at a very public place. So you want maximum police all in that spot immediately to try and get it under control and contained. But now there's stories of people that were in the mall that got out. They said they didn't see anything, but the police were stopping everybody wanting to see their phones.
Yeah.
And supposedly deleting pictures of anything that they took and whatever. I don't know how true that is or any of that other stuff, because that's more kind of stuff you see on TikTok and foolishness that goes on there too. So I don't know what to believe. I never heard anything about, because the news went everywhere with it. It was in all of your major headline news 5 days after the actual incident.
Yeah.
Because it was New Year's Day when it occurred. Yeah. And 5 days later, damn aliens running around the mall.
Do you think that it was the person I'm referring to, by the way, where we discussed this, says they believe it's to cover up some certain files that have recently come to light, and what a great time to just be like, woohoo.
Anything to distract about island flights, I understand.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other things going on in the world, I think, that you would throw out as a red herring to distract from that kind of thing. I don't know you necessarily need to go to aliens at the mall.
I think the part that was really confusing for people, though, and it makes sense, like you said, aftermath wise, but it was just weird that the entire police force, like, the only other thing that I will say about this, and again, I don't know any of the protocols, maybe it's 100% the protocol, maybe there's only one way into this place, but why were they all like you would think, and again, I who knows? I didn't look this place up geography-wise to look over the top, but like that was the only entrance. Like, why this one giant line? And maybe it's nothing. Maybe again I'm reading way too much into it, but it's like no one converged from anywhere else. Like you all just lined up down this one road. And again, who knows? The one thing I will say, and I'm not trying to completely play devil's advocate.
Lining them up is good for pictures.
That's, to me, I mean, it seemed that way, right? That the helicopter goes down and really takes shots of that, and they're doing their job. That's what they should do. But if there was an actual event here, let's just say any one of us was there, right? Who would believe me right now? Would you guys even believe me if I said I was there and whatever I experienced? I mean, Okay, Papa Willie says, I think he said he would. I think you're muted.
Well,
Sam, I'm not
I
sure.
would believe you because I know you. We've had conversations and stuff like that.
Correct.
So there's credibility between you and I for that. If you were a random TikToker that was on there, it's like, man, there are aliens all over the place. They were phasing in and out of existence, and they were trying to grab people and all this stuff. It's like,
He better be wearing pretty fancy clothes and talk very eloquent for me to believe that.
There I was in the Miami Mall.
If he looks and sounds like me, I'm not gonna believe him.
Okay, here. What about this? And I've seen this floating around a lot lately, and I kind of buy into this. Talking about
be like bleep blorp, bleep blorp.
what Papa Willie just said. Have you ever noticed? Someone was saying, "Do you think there's been a what's the word I'm looking for? Concerted effort on making specifically people that have been deemed as rednecks or other terms that maybe people are offensive by, hillbillies or southerners, to be dumb, mainly because those people are really self-sufficient and don't really need the government a whole lot. But if we make those people look real dumb, nobody's going to want to be the redneck, That
way you don't.
Every time there's a tornado or something like that.
I've always been the redneck.
Think about like any news time agency kind of a thing where
like Alf. Is that what it is? You said they don't sound like you.
But if you think about any kind of news type story where there's been some big event, a train derails, a tornado hits a town, monster fire, the news grabs the biggest hayseed they can find around there. Wow, here's a big old fire, and it blew up the whole building and all that. Just it's not like a scientist or a doctor or a police officer or a first responder or somebody like that it's always just whoever is standing around with their hands in their pockets, I guess. I don't know.
It does feel, I don't know. There's just I guess all I'm saying is that if there are some people that experience something really traumatizing there, it feels rough because like coming out of it, if they survived it, being like, oh my gosh, I've been hearing about this new, some Congress has been getting addressed about this more lately. Maybe this stuff really is real. People are going to believe me. And then they go to share their story and they're like, oh, so many other people seen it. How they not believe us? And everybody's being like, like nobody.
As far as the Miami thing goes, I heard there was somebody else on a different channel. I was watching their footage of it, their opinions, and they did bring up a good point is everybody's got one of these, even the kids. The kids that are fighting, I'm sure somebody was filming it. We don't even have that footage of these kids fighting or throwing firecrackers at each other or whatever it was that was happening. It wasn't that long ago that some kid got kicked to death because he got into a squabble with somebody, and the stupid kids filmed it and put it on their Facebook, and that's how they caught him.
Well, it did seem like there were a lot of videos when this first started firing up, I would say, when it started catching some, momentum. But all the videos were pretty grainy or useless, just running, screaming. Now, the one thing I will say is there was screaming, there was running. I will say this in regards to the idea of, because the most believable story to me is that a group of young hooligans went out with some fireworks and did something for the 4th of July, or the New Year. However, in those videos, I don't hear any bangs personally. And again, I'm not saying there had to be, but if people were running, you'd think that'd be the most likely moments when there were bangs. Like, where are the fireworks? Especially in a building. It should be pretty darn loud.
Because if you're in a mall and they're down like at the food court on the ground level and you're up like on the second level, a distance away, and you just hear pop, 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 and you live in Miami, you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to go that way quickly.
Yeah.
Because, it's more than likely, I guess where this mall isn't the best neighborhood, and this kind of activity is not unheard of. So that was the other reason for the giant response, because from the police.
Well, maybe look who's also running from their state, right? And maybe he wanted to be like, this is how I would handle. This is, you can count on me. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. You don't know. Who knows?
I just think about Bigfoot and all these cryptids sometimes, I just don't know what they would be like if they ever just ingested, oh boy, he's gone. He's gone.
Aliens got him. They got him.
I'm aware of, I've never come across any of these stories with these encounters or people who even have repeat abductions, perhaps. I've never heard them talking about aliens just drinking beer, whatever their source of that might be, or ingesting any kind of, whatever their version of weed is, or Bigfoot lives in the wild. You don't.
Ooh, I want to try some of their weed.
Yeah.
He lives in Washington. You're going to tell me that big man in Washington never tried any of the wild green stuff?
Well, let's look at this a totally different way. Say this absolutely happened, that for whatever reason, these aliens or extra dimensional beings, whatever they were,
Extra testicles. That's what I call them.
extra testicular abilities, they just materialize in the middle of this mall. They're 8 to 10 feet tall and kind of shady looking. But imagine, okay, is that absolutely or this? What's the basic human response? Run away! Supposedly, some people were shooting at these things to no effect as well. It's
what if that was the shots
like,
they did here? What if some people really did shoot?
and that could be too. Somebody freaked out. Some concealed carry gun holder decided he was going to.
Can you imagine if I was in the mall with some big old? I wouldn't even hesitate. I'd be like, "Hey, bro."
It'd be so bad. The people outside the mall would be when you were done, when you were out of ammo. They'd be like, "I think the popcorn's done."
I'd be yelling, "Y'all don't gotta run. He's done." I would. Hey, I'd mall or not. If you try to hurt me.
Well, that's the thing is supposedly
or
these
not.
things are just like appearing. I only heard like one person said that it looked like they were trying to grab them, or something like that. But most of them, it was just they were just kind of walking down the central hallway part of the mall. They're just walking. They're just
They're trying to look for new shoes. That's the only place they have size 15 in that area.
That's right.
I want to know what they look like. I keep hearing description of now shadow things, but first they look like big tall aliens. Like,
From the descriptions I heard,
it's big, tall, something
and
different
also,
than us.
I'm with you, Enzo.
Something big,
All
tall,
these damn phones and no one recorded it.
Yep.
if anything, we should be at least see the kids scrapping with each other and throwing fireworks at each other, because every one of those kids had their phone out.
Yes. Now, and here's where it gets weird. There was one video of an old man getting beat up, and that did get posted. And they claimed that was the same group. Yeah, they claimed that there was a group that were going around destroying property, heading towards the mall. And in one of the videos, there was an old man who did get kind of roughed up a little bit. And there was only maybe, that I could see in that video, top 7, if we're just going off the voices. But it looked like more like 4 or 5.
It starts off with kids fighting at the mall. Or that's
supposedly a group of kids, about a dozen kids, throwing firecrackers at each other, which then turned into somehow they were fighting each other with sticks. That I remember there were sticks
was another
involved
part.
for whatever reason.
It wasn't fireworks; it was actually sticks.
Who's carrying sticks around? Unless this is like that Karate Kid universe kind of a thing where
they watch that kind of stuff
stick.
all the time. Kids fighting at the mall.
Yeah,
my kids watch that shit on their phones all the time.
Huh? Is that the thing kids do now? They go to the mall and start brawls with the other gang.
Start brawling with people just trying to shop. It's ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
Playing
the punch out game. Yeah.
Yeah, my kids, they watch it all the time on their phone. Like, it's a big deal right now. These these kids go to the mall and try to world star somebody and get famous.
Yeah. They sneak up behind him and basically sucker punch him. And it's usually like an older guy or an older lady that doesn't notice him come up behind him and just.
Which mall?
Sonny, can we show?
I'm watching.
I want to go like tomorrow. Like tomorrow.
I know I've seen some of them at River Park.
I'll fuck a kid up.
Matter of fact,
me and I'll lay him out.
Matter of fact, they showed me a video that some other kids took of a handful of the kids that come and stay at my house all the time.
Here you go, Sonny.
getting jumped up there by like 50 people.
I don't know if we can play this or not. I don't know what the rules are on this.
What is it?
It's a video clip of the incident, but from like a news channel. I can mute it. I don't know if that matters. I don't know what the rules are.
Can't
Sonny.
play I can't.
It
Even if
doesn't
it's
show.
news?
I get taken down so many times now, guys, for just playing anything.
No.
I can't.
Well, if
Okay.
anybody goes and looks it up, it's the. You just type in the Miami
You
incident.
can
But anyways,
drop it in the link
Drop the link in the
oh
chat.
yeah, that's true. I
Yep.
can put that in there.
in the chat. You can do that for sure.
And this is just, I mean, the local news and stuff and whatnot, like Enzo said, reported on it. I don't know. This is what I will say about this. I think that for once, my rational side is being like, it's not real.
There you go.
But I can't help but feel like in my gut, it's just not what we're being told. Bare minimum, I do
Right.
not buy what is being told. I don't think it was some teenagers in a mall. The one video that actually, and then I saw on the news, I was looking through the video clips, did show some teenagers fighting, but they're outside. They're not even in it. And it did look like there's probably 25, 30 of them. There was a lot fighting each other. But it was not inside of the mall. I don't know.
Well, there's always going to
knows?
be like an element of like the telephone game for the police side where somebody tells somebody else, "Hey, call the police. There's kids fighting in there." Okay, I'll call the police. And there's people all over. There's 30 people out in the mall. And they're shooting fireworks at each other. Are they fireworks? I don't know. Or could they be gunshots? Maybe. No, it's turned
Exactly.
into a whole gun. Because they're in the search to figure it out with zero information. It blows up quick, and you have to err on that side of caution. Which, boy, did they do that?
Well, and I
There's
think
like
maybe
60 some cars out there.
yeah, over 300. I think it was 310 police officers reported to the scene, and I like I say it was 68 or whatever. They loaded them up like multiple officers into a vehicle to get them all there. I don't know. I guess all I'm trying to say at the end of the day is that what's unfortunate is that even if you had this mass event wherever you're at right now, any one of us, because Enzo, you said you believe me because maybe we have a bit of a rapport with each other. But if you guys didn't know me, if I was just me, but you just had never met me and I came on, I'm like, guys, I was there and there was, yes, some teenagers fighting, but I'm telling you, there was some weird shadows phasing in and out and appeared to be trying to grab people.
I'd be looking into it. I'd be
Yeah.
wondering. I would actually, even if the person was sketchy, I'd still be like, there's probably something to this. But there's a few of them.
See, I always thought shadow...
Kids that look like they all hang out together. I'm gonna be like, this is some bullshit. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes and make a big hoax thing, whatever. But if it's
The one weird thing I will say, and maybe I'm mistaken, to be fair, guys, I've not really dug into this, but have we seen any interviews with like, hey, you were on the scene, you were near this place, what did you experience?
this is my first time hearing about it.
Oh, well, I mean,
I'm
it's
not
a
very
big deal. Listen, it was a whole mall, guys. It was in a mall full of people. It's not like they're in the videos. They are running. There were hordes of people running. And all I'm saying is, and every time we turn on the nightly news, I don't know how it is in your guys' area, but they find the worst story they can possibly share that night.
Of
Family
course.
that drowned in a car or something, like just god awful stuff. And they will interview people who he could be like the tow truck driver across the street or something. They'll just be like,
Yeah.
what do you think about this death? And they'll just find somebody. But with this incident, at least that I'm aware of, there doesn't appear to be any like on-site, on-the-ground interviews with like, what did you experience? What did you hear? And I just don't think there could be that many people running. Either legitimately they were gone, they took off, or they purposely are not interviewed. I don't know. There's something up to it though.
Nothing, and it's just being reported like this for us to look at and realize it's nothing, and then we miss out on seeing whatever the hell they're doing right now.
Well, I'd say I do think it is a little bit of a look here while we do this. There's got to be, if it's bare minimum that, you know.
It's got to be, unless there's some beings that popped in and
Play tag.
Yeah,
We're just
it
like,
would
we're
be
playing
like,
tag,
oh.
guys.
I don't think they attacked them.
Look
I
at
think
that's why we
I-
raise the taxes.
I've seen lizards attack people before. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of
Miami?
things.
Yeah, they're alligators.
People that they say attacked them.
He's seen a lizard attack me before. He's seen a lizard jump off the wall.
I've seen lizards.
Yeah,
I've actually
and you
seen
turned it into a new pair of boots.
before, but I'm talking about somebody that's scared.
But to Nikki's
it
question here
moves
on the
and
screen,
just
I'd heard
moves.
that as well. I don't know how true that is. However,
Yeah,
if they did say there were multiple helicopters as part of the police response over the thing, which I don't know where the airport was in relation to that. If there's any part of whatever pattern the helicopters were doing circling over this mall that may have been close to their normal departure arrival, ways that they may have delayed traffic while they figured that out. They did their response, but that's just a guess on my part. I don't know.
Oh, what about this? Just throwing this out because I got to go in a second myself. Long game, not even that long down the road. I'm sure everybody at some point in time has heard of the Agenda 30 stuff, right? Right? We've heard of this at bare minimum. We know, if nobody's heard about it in a nutshell, that there's some possible conglomerates with a great amount of power that want to change the structure of the world, right? So if to some hypothesis about, especially even the alien stuff over the years, that
The lizard people.
that there could perhaps be some projections coming up, like literally just projected images of things with real destruction, but projections. It's kind of like Doctor Strange, right, from Spider-Man. Have anybody
Right.
like Spider-Man? How possible is it that we're going to see over the next 6 years to 8 years in a very big influx and increase of these kind of events where we're not really seeing things, maybe we're seeing enough to get it on everybody's radar that something's going on before the big moment? I mean, is that even remotely possible?
If we're gonna go that far,
Open us up a bit.
if we're gonna go that far, let's jump back several months. Remember the kid that said he saw the UFO in his backyard in Las Vegas? How did he describe him?
Oh, I missed this one.
I
I
didn't
didn't
see
know
it
about
either.
this one
I was
either.
talking about.
There was police got called that it was the same night as I don't recall the meteor shower, but on one of the cops' things, you saw a meteor falling down, which was to be expected because it was a big meteor shower.
Yeah.
And then shortly afterwards gets a call for this neighborhood saying there was a disturbance that there were giant aliens in this guy's backyard that he described being 8 to 10 feet tall, 2 of them that were creeping around the backyard. So now in Miami, we've got 3 8 to 10 foot aliens waltzing around the mall. Probably going to Spencer's Gift to get a poster for their wall at Paco.
Yeah, I don't know. And this is the weird part that we've gotten to, Sonny
right.
and Enzo, is that unfortunately we are at a point where we don't know what to believe, and I don't think that's by accident. I think that has been on purpose. I think we've reached a precipice where we're like, yeah, it could be anything, and because it could be anything, some humans' minds just go, I can't. I tap out here because I don't have the mental capacity to deal with this right now.
There's the theory, of course, that the whole Roswell story was disinformation to make the Russians think that we had super advanced space technology from aliens.
Perhaps. I do know we sent a truck out there. That's the smoking gun for me.
That's it.
Mighty big truck with a big crane on it for a parachute that could have been rolled up by a couple guys and put in a pickup truck. And that's actually still documented. That's my thing. I love what the military is when they put their documentation in order. To me, like the CIA, that's why I love covering the 40s, 50s, and 60s alien stories the best. Because you had this just raw time of the CIA just out there, Men in Black style. I just love those stories. And who knows? We'll look back and we'll see. But I don't know. I don't know. It's weird to me that this feels like it's being handled a little bit like the Hawaii stuff, where it's like, why are we not getting interviews from actual Hawaiians that live there and have gone to this? Why is it just some news reporter standing in front of a gate with their little helmets on to be safe talking about this event?
Right.
Why are we not interviewing people? But every night here locally, you're telling me these terrible horror stories with multiple people to talk about it. Even if they weren't even related, they'll pick. I saw one the other night, and I remember laughing about it, not because what they were talking about was not funny, but it was the fact that they just picked somebody from the area where this terrible thing happened, and were like, "How do you feel about this?" And it's like they just work in that area. It has not. I mean, they even said they're like, "Oh, it's a terrible thing." You know, was really unfortunate. We're sorry to hear these things. You only hear about them on TV. You know, that's basically their statement. And it seemed like a really real interview because, like, somebody came up to me and asked me, that's what I would say too. Like, what are you gonna say? I mean,
Right.
I know. That kind of just fell off too. You don't really hear much about the Hawaii stuff anymore.
Nope. But he did go there and say he talked about a time a car caught on fire of him, so he's able to relate. So
That's it. He knows exactly what they're talking about. The entire home's being disintegrated.
I can't. I don't even get on that. Oh man, Sonny. All right, buddy. I think I'm gonna.
Yep, it's about that time.
Heck yeah, I've rambled more than enough tonight. But it was good to see you guys on a Wednesday.
Yeah, love seeing you again.
Yeah, I haven't seen either one of you guys in quite a while.
Yeah.
Yep, took those holidays off.
Well, for those of us that aren't trying to figure out weird videos like that, they're working. Everybody else is just I think everybody's just working too much.
All the people in chat, I haven't seen anybody in quite.
No.
I've been no way.
We're coming out of that holiday time where everyone's doing their home things, so nobody's hanging out on the internet so much, and then we're getting back into the cycle.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, guys, I'm ready to close it up too. So, Willie,
All right.
you're leaving at a perfect time.
Oh man. Well, I'll just stay here with you if you're wrapping it up.
We're wrapping it up, man. You got anything else coming up, Willie?
Well, perhaps, there are rumors of a certain digital radio broadcasting that may or may not be up and going soon. So once that's up and going, yeah, I'll be over there running, getting to do a channel by myself again.
Sweet.
With some digital broadcasting with Escape the Simulation by Jess Rogie. So other than that, not too much other than that, though.
Fancy.
Yeah, she's actually going to be on later tonight here in a couple hours.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to go. I'll check her out, too.
Heck
Just
yeah.
swing by there and say hi.
All right, guys. This was good. And we got a show coming up in a couple days on Friday. We're going to have Blind Neil and I Love Weed live. And then today, I heard Carrie might stop by.
Wow.
Comedian.
Oh,
I just added him on Facebook. I really sent me a friend request from the last time when you guys did a show with him. I never accepted it.
Oh, he's funny,
so
man.
long ago.
Funny. He was making me laugh today just in messages. He just cracked so many jokes.
Look at who's here at the very end.
What's up?
Drive safe. Yeah, no chatting and trying to message while you're driving over there.
Yep.
yeah, don't do that.
Jojo Bone.
Just listen.
I got to set up a time, too, to go on Jojo Bone's show and tickle some people's orifices over there. For sure. Ear orifices. I don't know what I said. I think I said
Or earpieces.
Any of the orifices that they get permission to, I guess. I don't know.
Never
Consent is
always
key,
fine.
though.
Whatever always fine.
Oh, we're too much probably for Wednesday night. We got to save that for the weekend. We can't
That's
go
it.
down
We
there.
It's a little bit much. Don't
You
want to get
notice I
too,
changed it to after hours, so we're safe.
Oh, there we go. We're safe.
The warning
Okay.
was up. If you guys didn't see, after the guests left,
there it
we
is.
switched to after hours.
That's right.
Good.
They can see it better now.
Yep.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
I didn't know we were after hours.
go. All right, man. Yeah, let's close it up. Guys, thank you for coming. This was awesome. We had a good show.
Yep. Have a good
And,
night, everybody. Thanks for
Thank
stopping
you
by.
to everyone in chat. You guys are always awesome. Come back again. And if you guys like us doing shows during the week like this, let us know down in the comments. And I'll start booking serious shows on Hump Day and do party shows on Friday.
Like it.
Okay?
Happy
Sound
hump day,
good?
y'all.
All right. Peace out, y'all. Thanks for
Peace.
watching. We're just going out from here. I don't have an exit. Oh, wait. Let's
You gotta
play an
get
old
some
one. Let's
tunes,
play an
bro.
old one. Yeah, let's play an old one. Let's find something that
Do
we
it.
let's steal one from somebody.
Steal one. Borrow. We didn't steal.
No, I think we're actually stealing this one from UFO Garage. This might have been one.
They're gonna give you the copy strike. They're gonna see it and be like, "Oh, strike him! Strike Sonny down!"
Wait, it might be on Chad's. Let me hear Chad's and see what it is. Hold on. Let's check this one, guys. Oh, that's it. That was
Check
just
the
straight
boy, make
solid.
sure-
Go to
That's
that.
fine.
Yeah.
God, I love that. It was such a good intro.
I can play this. I'm actually UFO Garage employee.
Dr. Scientist, bro.
That's right,
Legit.
Dr. Scientist at the Farts Academy. I've been working on masturbation propulsion system for quite a while now. We just about got it figured out. It's
Real hands-on
it's
kind
dice
of
roll,
project.
you know what I mean? Yeah, but we're getting it figured out. It's,
You know, yeah, they had that one guy that had
Yeah.
It was in San Jose that I was very curious about the giant stone balls.
Just giant. Somehow, the symmetry though between these giant stone balls was just, my God. Hey, one last shout out. I got to give it, and I'll get out of here.
Edging.
Jojo Bone. If you share a photo right now of Jojo Bone right there, Sonny, if you just share his comment, good show, thanks. You guys tell me, do you not look at that? Look at that image. That could be a Roman god right there. He could have been a Greek philosopher. Look at that imagery.
might be wrapped in a toga. You never know.
Oh my God.
Never know.
All
right,
I had to
guys.
have a good shout out.
Super good. Good stuff right there. That'd be good. Right. Yeah, singing on doing that and stuff.
Well said, JoJo. Thanks for taking us out.
Jojo Bone the philosopher.
Peace out, y'all.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.